Ane nitie gimoro ma ok timre maber, tema ane kendo rekebisha. Igora moga jwang' wasedonjo. Wane adwa wadonjo kaka Mike ni chal.
Imiyo awinja anena gima timore ka.
Okay, ochako bet maber koro. It's coming. Kamimulo ne
machiegni.
Kora apano biro, apano ber, obiro. JK, ok aparo, sawa ni koro aparo ni wachake achaka. Ka Luo Girl loso mic ne. Ok koro mos jogi. Nyikwa Ramoga Jwang' wamos apok amoso gi officially. Nyikwa Ramoga Jwang' erokamano. Watimo erokamano ahinya kendo wamor. Kawuono odiochieng' mar The Luo Girl Part 4. Wachake 9:30 instead of 9 nikech kakwa wachoga. Unie message. A number of people reached out to wacho ni nitiere kaka adhula moro gore e pap moro kamoro. Koro okudileye matin. Taparo ne giparo ni by 9:30 no nyalo bedo ni ng'ama osekawe but aparo ni odhi extra time. Koro ok wanyal mede kendo. Koro wachake 9:30. Majority ma okwayo watimonu kaka udwaro. But koro wadwa chake. Arwako keda moso ahinya Nyikwa Ramoga Jwang' kamoro amora ma untiere. Kawuono odiochieng' ma kawuono odiochieng' marwa mar The Luo Girl. Nyoro nyo Lwanda Magere ber zaidi. Can you miss the best part of what we have been doing? To kawuono bende nya winjo kilieke ni The Luo Girl Part 4 donjo kama very very interesting. Koro arwako uduto kamoro amora ma untie. Beduru gi kauru kahawa, kauru chai, kauru jo Arsenal. Ang'e nun to nyaka be nu ukaw gicha. But an adhi Ugenya. Ung'eyo gima wacho. Timuru gicha, timnauru kamanya. An gi tidit ka. Orna uru gimoro kanyo. Ero uru kamano. GK, adwa na rwaki. To pod adwa ne kapok arwaki in ema adwa ni rwak jogi mogik. Adwa ni The Luo Girl mos jogi mondi. The Luo Girl mos ane jogi.
Maruru. Aparo ni kendo moko to koro oseimore, koro kata ka wacho imore mane makara. Oimore uru. Wago erokamano. Ne thuolo mukawa mar winjo. Mpira to liet ndi oko kanyo. But wageno agena ni ang' joma bet waweyo chien matin kawuono to koro ang' noyukwa. And welcome to the program. We appreciate you being with us.
Erokamano. GK, abiro kuomi koro en mari rwak jogi.
Erokamano onle. Erokamano sana bedo host ma The Luo Girl. To ben Luo Girl bendo clash kod team mamoko. Arsenal giri. So mano ok nyal bedo avoided. But nkeche nyaka watim gima watimo. Warwako ute. Welcome kabisa. Wago erokamano kuom joma nitie kanyo. Wago erokamano joma nitie kanyo. Wabodhi mbele kode. Unie kila kitu. Koro wadwa norwaku mondo wachak gini. Wadhi nikech gichako chon. Ute gichako chon. Sa bendo leo mondo wadhi kode. Kik waketu sana. Erokamano. Wauda kawe mondo wadhi mbele.
Erokamano Ramoth. To those joining us for the first time, welcome. We welcome you because we know there are people who are joining us for the first time. We are going today, I think, to go into a very, very crucial part of the Luo Girl, how a Luo Girl becomes, how they become. There is a way, like yesterday we learned very important things that are about being Luo. It just never happens. There's a lot of processes. Today we might learn what being a Luo Girl is. Stay tuned. I'm your host, Ouda Wonle. I don't want to waste any more time because I'm also very eager to know what happens. Being a father of girls, of Luo girls, they are really, really, really on the race. They always tell me we will never want to be outside the village. And we told you yesterday that we were knitting the village, we were piecing it slowly by slowly, piece by piece. And I can tell you that my girls, my own girls, have said they would never want to be outside the village. They want to be inside the village. That is my prayer, that mothers here, you pray that the girls you're bringing up decides by themselves that they want to be in the village, not outside. They don't want just to be Luo because they're speaking the language. Right now, Orias are speaking Luo language. Other people are speaking Luo language. So we need to be in sync into it. Having said that, GK Ramoth, aduoke kuom mondo koro imiwa line up how we are going. Give me the Luo Girl. Go ahead. I'm the host. I'm hosting you. I'm hosting the Luo Girl. The program is yours. Kawe, Kode.
Na lwar matin. Ok awinjo the last part. Iwacho ni awinjo mana nyaka line up.
Oh yes. No, I'm praying and hoping that the way we are piecing piece by piece the village. My girls, my girls have told me they would never want to be outside the village. They want to be inside the village, which means they are ready to go through the process so that they are in the village, inside it, not outside it. And I just said in passing that I pray that our mothers, our sisters who are here, who are listening to us, bring their girls to make that decision. Bring up their girls to make that decision because we've agreed, all of us, we are the rhythm of our ancestral journey. Thank you. Ramoth Kawe, Koro Anan Mana host. I'm your host, Oda Wonle. I'm hosting GK Ramoth and the Luo Girl. Welcome.
Abe an manager gini. Abet mani bench kando ma gini kanyo. Ikando ma od budho. Bura.
Kare the Luo Girl emo bete kom nikech en the Luo Girl. Namba.
And oterowa through this. Koro konyalo terowa nyaka wachni wadhi nyaka before so ogini okend nyakoni mondo wane what happens. What is observation mang'ane mar alafu ka wabodhi mar ominde ka wabodhi apit wabodhi iye donge mano ber.
The Luo Girl, wane lweti in ewuon kom, in emibete kom maduong'.
Apuro wena dunyra.
Kom mari, koro chaka.
Today we are supposed to be doing Today we are supposed to be doing the fifth part of it, the betrothal and marriage customs. There are preliminary considerations. One difference between the older traditional kind of marriage and marriage as it is conducted nowadays lies in the part played by relatives to make the venture a success. Individual initiative was formerly negligible, the greater part of the marriage negotiations being undertaken by the relatives of both parties. This had the effect of reducing the importance of the bridegroom, whose initiative gave way to a dependence upon the goodwill of his relations, to whom the task of negotiation was left. At present, the tendency in marriage is towards individualism, although it is still a matter where society plays a considerable part. But since the individual man and woman are taking a greater part in deciding whom they shall marry, there is now a greater opportunity to develop an attachment genuinely based upon love. Steps are still usually taken, however, to ensure that the man's family has sufficient wealth to pay a satisfactory dowry, and the cooperation of the society in which the girl lives if the relationship is to be successfully established. Great care is also taken to see that the marriage of the couple would not go against the normal stratification of relationships already in existence. The marriage of a member of AB family to CD family, which excludes the children of the G and H from intermarrying. So these letters basically represents particular families, which excludes the children of G and H from intermarrying with any member of the lineage in the maternal grandparents, can be traced. As long as a connection with the maternal grandparents can be traced, H family will not marry the person concerned. Now down there is an illustration of how the family tree goes, and there is a place where they link. So the maternal grandfather and the paternal grandfather, then the mother, sister, mother's brother, and then the mother. Now, when coming to intermarry into this family, then the father, father's sister, and father's brother, and down to the sons and daughters, where basically the marriage is going to take place. So they check the extended relationship of a family unit to ensure that there is no marriage in between the families, maternal and the paternal parts of the family. But E may be married to H's brother, and or I too may marry his brother should F's son wish to marry from the community in which G has been married. It would be G who would take the responsibility of looking for a woman from among the daughters of her brothers-in-law and not from among her sisters-in-law. In the same way, the sons of G's brothers-in-law cannot marry any of G's sisters or sisters by relation, that is the daughters of her uncles. So the method of acting through a relative in establishing a marriage connection is still used, although personal initiative is increasingly taking place. So I think this method was mostly used to avoid the cases of incest, even with extended and so extended family members that extend to as far as where your daughter is married or where your son gets married from. Now, the position of a betrothed woman. The life of a betrothed woman presents a busy time of conflicting and disturbing news, information of much discomfort, comes and goes, and is forgotten. To the girl, such information is of great importance, and her attitude is often affected by it. Each time a group of girls or young women meet, there is a comment on what has been said about so and so in certain quarters. Mixed with this unwelcome gossip may come other features of great encouragement. Thus, there is much emotional strain in the years preceding marriage. It is time when both parties to the engagement are uncertain about what may develop next. Amidst all this, the woman still has the freedom of talking to any young men she meets and The emotional uncertainty, which is much stronger with a girl, compels her at times not to put all her hopes in one man. Although her relationship with former friends becomes relatively weak, she does not lose interest in them until she eventually gets married. A great deal of persuasion is employed. Each time she meets her friends, her sympathies are tested. In this difficult period, the male and female relative of a man should play a beneficial part. Some carefully arranged marriages are broken owing to lack of such support. In general, a betrothed woman is an object of competition. Once engaged, the forces that work against her engagement are let loose. Reports, true and false, are continuously passed on. In the girl's family, the mother continues to instruct her on how to address the relatives whom she will meet in her new home. If the marriage is to be cancelled, the dowry paid by the first candidate must be paid back before the cattle of the other are accepted. Should the girl run away with someone else, she will, on her return, she will, on her return, be beaten, and it is only after a long interval that the offense will be forgotten. Oh. Prenuptial and modern education. There is nothing so special. There is no special attempt to educate mature girls just before marriage. The nature of the training they receive is merely a continuation of that given to them in their adolescence. Thus, they obtain information about their future status on their own initiative, the object being to familiarize them with the relationship between husband and wife and with the prospective husband's moods and to establish a good understanding. At this time, there is no instruction on the care of babies. Such knowledge is being acquired after a woman has given birth. The difference between the traditional training of brides and the modern education, even in its elementary stages, is tremendous. While traditional education is constantly weakening, modern education tends to develop along its own independent lines, omitting rather than assisting those elements it is intended to improve. Mhm. While traditional education is constantly weakening, modern education tends to develop along its own independent lines, omitting rather than assisting those elements it is intended to improve. It is likely that through it is likely that a stronger foundation could be built through modern education if the latter paid more heed to those features of community life which most urgently require improvement, but which in themselves provide groundwork for practical knowledge. The pace of progress in Luo society is bound to be slow, while the sphere of women's life remains still radically conservative. It is arguable that modern education emphasizes literary theory too much, yet the traditional education, which stresses practical work from early childhood, gives only a limited time for theory, even in maturity. However, this may be, there is no doubt that there now exists too much ignorance in the requisite knowledge about sex for girls and young women can be met who plainly profess ignorance on certain fundamental features of the traditional training. It therefore seems necessary that if education is not to be of real use and interest to girls, some features of practical value to society should be included. This presupposes a thorough study of the subject concerned, and a wise selection of those elements which would inspire the pupils to improve themselves and the society in which they move. I'm going to take a break at that point because we're not having it too long today, but it's quite interesting. So I'm going to take a break there.
Thank you so much, the Luo Girl. Thank you, and thank you for stopping there for now. Ramoth, before you come in, Ramoth, are you live?
Yeah, we just.
Okay. Before you come in, because I want you to put this into perspective. It's the tail end of this, or it's the most interesting part, and I wouldn't want to even water it down with any observation that might water it down. But I just want to remind our fellow cultural champions. Remember, this book, The Luo Girl, was written in English in 1949, and it largely reflects what Professor Minde and his mentor, or whoever was helping him write the book, a white man, largely observed. They and understood at that particular moment in history. Like all human beings, we do have observations. It represents a perspective rather than an absolute truth. So our mission, especially, uh, is therefore as the Ramogi Cultural Institute for Luo Heritage Research and Education. Our mission is not to dismiss or negatively challenge his work, nor to accept every observation uncritically. Rather, our task is to place those observations within their proper historical, cultural, and social context. And we're not going to bend that. We're not going to bend it. So, as the Luo Girl reads the book and you pick what is being said in the book, you will now have to listen to Ramoth's perspective, because Ramoth is going to put it into the correct context, so that we are not. I'm saying this because I don't want us somebody to think maybe, why is the book saying this and Ramoth is saying this. We are not challenging the book. We have a stand that we must stand at, and we are standing at the consciousness of Luo, at the door of consciousness of Luo. So observations, yes, we welcome them, but if we have to put them into proper context and proper perspective, then we have to put it there. Because as we engage with this book, we are not attempting to water down Luo culture in the name of modernity, nor are we seeking to freeze our culture in the past. No. We are striving to recover its essence, appreciate its wisdom, and examine it honestly, and present its truest perspective for present and future generations. And that's our mission. And having said that, Ramoth, come in, talk to us, put the Luo Girl into perspective. And some of those things Ominde observed, talk to us through them, and so that we may understand them. We're here to learn. Like yesterday, I'm sure we now know, when we talk about Luo, we know what makes you a Luo. We want to know what makes somebody a Luo girl, our girls a Luo girl. Thank you.
Ingeo, an kaka bench warmer, inge gima interesting now. Awinjo ka the Luo Girl owacho ni interesting like 3 times. I'm very curious winjo. I'm curious, but I'm interested winjo ni. Parts mage moyudo very interesting.
With
Like
that,
how are they? Nikech
I agree, because she
mano
said
gima.
it. She said it like 3 times. And when she was reading, I also realized that whenever she reads something that pricks her mind, she stops and says, "Hmm." So, the Luo Girl, tell us, talk to us. What is interesting to you?
Aha. This part today, it's from what Ominda is saying, it doesn't have much. but it has the most. That's from my perspective. I think it has the most. There is the training part of it that is given, and then Ominde says that at present, the tendency of marriage is more towards individualism than how it was back then when the community used to organize it, check the rules, see if your father has enough house or the husband's family has enough house to come and settle, bride price, and all of that. And then, and I know Ramoth is going to say my colonial mindset, but I guess someone has to be on the other side of the fence. So there is this aspect of right now in our contemporary society, ladies checking what a man has. That's now the individualism part when the community is not involved. I think it's kind of the same of when the society checked what a man's family has to settle bride price. Another interesting part of this was how marriages were carried out, checking, digging into the roots, and we've been given that family chart. And there is a part of the family that can marry, but some part of it cannot, based on how the relationship goes from the maternal side of the grandparents and the paternal side of the grandparents. One which I found striking was the fact that there is absolutely no training when it comes to marriage. You learn on the job. That's what it sounded like to me. You learn on the job. So, other than the things you told, how to talk to your husband, there is nothing.
Jordan an nikech Luo Girl olal. Sauti ne ni piny kucha kabisa. Kosi ni winje clear.
Odok piny matin. The Luo Girl, you move away from your mic or what happened?
Odok piny sana, ok matin. Piny sana.
But Ramoth, iwinjo a few things mowacho koso, because I want you to come in so that she can.
Olal no. The last thing mana winjo en colonial mindset. Kati mana donge.
Okay, the most striking part mana was Ramoth winja koro.
Ramoth winje?
Winji, but in piny.
In piny, that's the issue. Akian gimoro timo. Medane volume ni or something, I don't know. Or mic ni olorre or something, I don't know. Or it's kind of it's a bit blocked. Possibly Karamoth, they drop and then I bring you back. Switch off and on, then I bring you back. Yeah.
Kodongero duogo.
Wachane wane koro wawinji.
Nawacho niya.
Good. Koro wane en Ramoth, the last parts kanyo ok owinjo to odwano riek.
Ramoth, gima nawacho mana I found striking was the fact that Luo ladies were not given any training on marriage, and the society dropped it so that when you get there, you learn on the job. No training on childbearing, you will train when you get the child. The only thing ulikuwa unafundishwa was maybe how to speak to the relatives of your husband because they were doing this kind of searches, checking on your attitude. But everything else you learn on the job. And in this piece, this part, the writer talks much about the contemporary society and the things that it omits that should be addressed rather than, be just ignored. So the contemporary society does not address the gaps that were presented by the traditional society that he is talking about.
Okay, yes. Come in, Koro. Koro, what did
Nawinjo.
we?
Nowacho mano mana achiel, nowacho interesting times. Adwa winjo. Adwa
The
winjo.
Luo Girl, Manachiel. The other interesting thing, I think it's important that we get this. Yes. Do you have another interesting thing?
Oh, the next one was the freedom of choice, where you are told that amidst all this, the lady, despite being betrothed and the promise of being married to somebody, they still have the freedom to speak to other suitors. And the last one was the point of beating. I've been talking about this beating thing since they were children. And here we're told that if you elope with another man and dowry has to be returned, when you come back, you have to be beaten. So this point of beating is kind of consistent because maybe as a form of discipline, reproach, how they reprimand their children when they make mistakes, but this as a form of discipline or whatever it was used for, it is so prominent in this society that we're talking about.
Well. Yeah. I don't girl. She's already a big girl and even married. But something
She's
happens and
still getting beaten. Yeah.
she gets beaten by the parents. I don't know. Ominde is talking, so I don't know. Please put it into perspective.
Iwacho na an kosi Ombuda, an kosi the Luo Girl.
No, the Luo Girl osewacho the three things more surprising her. Koracho but I'm not sure about this beating Kanyako. Something happens to your play. Talking, yes, nyara doga, and we've heard that a lot. Parents trying to say katana said nabet giwonu kama okoyot and blah blah. But this beating, I don't know.
Mm. Iwacho na nikech iwacho na I don't know. Imi nango Ouda kiwacho na I don't know.
I'm not sure Minde
Iparo
got it.
ng'ani.
I'm not sure Minde got it. Ni nigo giga. I know of talking. Min nyako wuoyo gi nyako dogi. Daki itimati. They used so many words. Daki kunga, doga
That
doga,
love you watch.
dak law yuach, all those things. Kaiti miringo gi rech, gang'o tero, gi gweno, odhigo. But Goch, I'm not sure they were being beaten unless, yeah, Ominde is I don't know what Ominde observed and where.
Mm. Wacho ni kanochako wacho one difference between the older traditional kind of marriage and marriage as it is conducted nowadays lies in the part played by relatives to make the venture a success. Individual initiative was formerly negligible, the greater part of the marriage negotiations being undertaken by the relatives of both parties. This had the effect of reducing the importance of the bridegroom, whose initiative gave way to a dependence upon the goodwill of his relations, to whom the task of negotiation was left. This had the effect of reducing the importance of the bridegroom. I would a question. No question. Kaona ni bench. Is it the different? Is it one difference between the older traditional kind of marriage? Or we about the marriage or we about the wedding?
Okay.
So
Did
bentie
we
difference.
have weddings in the old days?
The process of wedding the lady. don't get a year, and then they talk the whole procedure. That is not the marriage.
It's not.
Marriage is kaka the people live together.
After taking each other.
Yes, that is the marriage. That is the marriage.
Right. Yes. So
The marriage is basically a relationship.
what I know with the relationship, the build up to the marriage itself, ok ne wache joma chon ne wacho ni ok ditiek nyuomo dhako. Actually, there used to be a word dhako inyuomo nyaka ti or nyaka chieng' tho. What it meant for me is that relationship, it's permanent. There are times when it just visits. You're going to visit, and also assuming there are funerals. It's big. It's big. The visit is huge because you're going to, as much as the funeral and all that. So wedding should be, wedding is an occasion, a once
Don't
off
get
occasion.
George.
Yeah.
George. Nyuombo is the wedding of the lady. Keny is the marriage.
Marriage.
Koro ka jogi nyisowa ni nyako inyuombo nyako tho. Ai. Eh. Eh.
Ramoth, wait. Ramoth, wait.
Eh.
Ramoth, wait.
Jogi dogonwa shortcut ka.
Ramoth, it's kanongi sini keldok apart. And in this sense, we are talking about keldok apart. It doesn't mean my stand in this has never been that girl is worth 10 cows. No. This is just a symbol of unity or union amongst the two families. It doesn't matter whether in the young child, whether gin dok predicate apart. But there are situations mako ngisi ni kel dok apart to okikel o samoro ngato kokelo ga par dichiel. What happens? Okay, nyombo chako di nyombo nyaka ngato tho. What did it mean? Nyombo nyaka ngato tho. But I understand Kane is the marriage. But
Marriage.
wedding, is it an occasion miti medical or does it happen regularly or many times? Nikech mokwongo ken ga nyombo. Mokwongo en ayie. Traditionally. En ayie. You go know these people properly. Negotiations actually starts there. And inyalo kata gon, okay, wadwaro ngeda beach, wadwaro par, wadwaro sukaboro, wadwaro all this. But that is chieng ayie. Is not nyombo itself. Okay, Ramoth koro kawe. Wabro bagi
An
ka.
apenjo. Ema
Ne,
penjo nikech
Penjo yien.
wabro ketho gini.
nikech
Ketho gini.
ing'eya nikech an adwaga elewa gima timre nikech
Wabro ketho gini.
adhi kod gini
Wabro ketho
nikech
gini
ng'ato
kominde. Wabro ketho gini kominde.
nikech an nikech sani kata ka wacho ni but mano nikech upbringing to this side means marriage as it is conducted nowadays lies in the part played by relatives. But sani be odok back to that system. Joma romo e social media gi ng'ama introduce gi. Joma dhi dating sites gi. To intentionally dating site. Dating site no koka opposition ma relative.
But isn't it ni mano emomiyo one code issues? Because the reason why relative was also important, ne nitie jagam. To even in the process of jagam ni, there was background check manitimo. Negotiation would not be allowed. Kan negotiation ka jogi poko ng'ento nyako ni dala gi chal nade, to wuoyi ni dala gi chal nade. There are occasions, my grandmother told me that there was an occasion that one was called off because Jagam was told nyaro ok nyal dhi tedo. Wasetimo uchunguzi mwanwang'o ni jogo jojuogi maringo gotieno. Nyaro ok nyal tedo kanyo. So if you meet in social media, how will you find out those ones? So kwaroma roma to tell to ineno mana kor nyako maber korwako pumps to keto wenge mang'eny gi to keto mane miromo go to mane midhi nyuomo. Kisenyuome 2 weeks down the line, the words come. This is not the person I got married to. Of course, he's not the person you got married to. Ng'ama notimo background check mong'e ne en ng'ama chal nade.
No, and gigi pod it interesting to one nikech kata example migolo madano nong'isi no awachoga Luo have anecdote, one story, just one story mono happen in one circumstance walk away as the overall story. So kata wachni for example marriages te wedding te keny te kod nyombo te madano noneno achiel ma ji noduok donge ma ji
Just
notamo.
one minute. No, give an example. And she was saying it in the to mondo ojing wach mar nyaka I check background mar nyako midwa nyuomo. That was the story behind it. Koro ng'isa ni the reason is one was cancelled because of that. Ne bed jogi okotimo background check. Ne nyargi dotedo kami ide. You get it? Yeah.
But mane matemo wacho. So range like this. Range kaka na range. Awachon out of 500, one was rejected. So wachni kata wachni out of 300, kata 200. Wachni out of two kawuono gi nyono gini tarani. Out of 200, one was rejected. So where we give the cow one story. Actually, out of the 200, 50 negitimo check, but pod neginio the no kethre. Get jo juogi go no nge hide juogi bargi thoroughly.
That's possible. That's
Get no benen possibility. And possibility. So ikawacho kataka kwere wangiso ni one was rejected because you have to. Nikechi I take the point mokongo ni kagi ngiso kama okumini and kaka understand okumini omiyo the majority of what was happening omiyo one exception. So odon wa keep that exception to be the rule. And so the reason why this check was important was because one was rejected and it worked in one instance. So that should be the rule. Gimami apenjo kama.
Yeah.
Gimami apenjo kama. Ne an kod Ankona, the late. Ankona no kendo 4 women. Alafu at the end no dong achiel. So neni hospital tadhi nene. That is now before or pass. Chako miya wisdom. Ong'isa ni kapok inyombo to idhi make sure ni idhi rango kuma nyako ni ae. Idhi make sure ni rango kuma nyako ni ae. To samo ng'isa gigo I remember scenes mananeno kako gore kod monde ne. Tapenje kanyo. Nang'o miyo in nok idhi rango? Napenje live. Ang'o miyo in nok idhi rango? Ang'o ming'isa an adhi arang to in nok idhi rango? Ang'o ming'isa natim gima in nok itim?
Learn from his mistakes. Okodwar ni no mistakes go.
Exactly.
Okay. Ondik kure na I cannot make mistakes. So my mistake. Ondik kure na I do not make my mistakes. So I should follow him and I do not make mistakes. Mano
He
wisdom,
make
man.
I'm not telling he make mistake. Kose query. Kose query titimo gino kendo me make mistake. Matter is not a
Aya.
mistake now. Matter is to
Okwati.
be told.
Ineno, my gimatemo pull out. This is what I'm trying to pull out.
Yeah.
Advice mommy regi.
Eh.
Advice mommy regi. Nikech, that is why I asked him. Oknabet kanyo ba winje women na penje. No, why didn't you check? I don't know how you grew up with these women. Why didn't you check? Maybe an ahero kaka no thou. Maybe that is what I've picked up from you. I'm a grown up. So mane gima temo bring out ni most kata the examples more get. I can very convinced me these relatives was because of to make the venture a success. Aparono Ominde is very confused. Nkech oknen confused nkech en ngama fuo. En confused nkech this conflict timre yui. Or en onge a bit of the Luos part, but omit this European part. Amom yona penjo. Is it marriage or wedding? Nikech marriage to joka bodak together. Or me another example mananeno this naneno. naneno. Not yo gi Koreans moko e kanisa moro. To e kanisa gi onge sero. The parents of the girl and the parents of the guy giwuoyo after gise wuoyo gi pastor. Meaning by watching after gise wuoyo gi pastor en sama gidwa twe kijana ni kod nyako ni mondo gibed committed to the society ma en kanisa, and they take their responsibilities kanyo seriously. So jogi nimiyo gi one hour ng'eny. Kose decide ni gibet karachiel to ibo ket gi piny gibed piny. To gibo wuoyo for like 30 minutes. I room moro kanyo, ket gi kanyo. Ka 30 minutes go rumo to gikendre. In my time there, no kaneno even one Korean rejecting. Nyako kata wuoyi. I did not see. Marario. And time manan kuro. At that time manan kod gi kanyo. I didn't see any divorce. Kata to oked gi karachiel. All of them. Okay. Jomo decide for each other kanyo din. So mano no keta wondering. Is it for something else? Nikech the success will come from the society, how it operates. Okay, and also from the advice and from Kakaginen of the people relate with each other. So now Kitakanka wonder, was it really for the success? Ama Gematemo Pension, was it a deeper thing? Njagam was not just for success. Ntegi manegingeo much deeper. Tokakanu akelo nyoro cha. This person, magine, mani, quote unquote marriage ni. Osedonjo in the society kosepodi. Nikech nyoro aneno ni donjo in Luo society is a process.
Okay.
Osedonjo kosepodi.
Mano nga nyako koso wuoyi. Mane mipenjo nosedonjo society, nyako koso wuoyi? Which one?
Gite. Gite na process madonjo in society. kata ka nyako ne en different.
Gi kaka wuoyi kaka nyowa tim manyoro manyowa gine manyowa neno cha that process kata kapo ni ochopo kama podi kamiseromo nyombo to ochopo ni koro I decide kata jonyuol decide po as a man put chopo kama that is just a piece of what makes you nikech inyombo koro idwa chako family nikech even this family michako ni part of being Luo idwa ng'e idwa ng'e kaka idwa rito family nini en giming'eyo how you are doing it koro I tend to think ni pod kigidonjo podi they are in the process podi kabisa pod gin mabor sana yeah.
Okay, so these are the effect of reducing them. So watching in a situation kaki wacho pok idonjogo, then this jagam and this whole process, what purpose does it serve? Also have purpose, man. This process magamo, and then they go through this.
For me, let me say it how Jagamani in this essence talk on that Korean situations. For me they serve the same purpose as Jonyuol. Okay, Jonyuol are the ones deciding ni nyako ni bergi wini bergi nyako ni. Jagam bende in his or her wisdom oneno ni nyaro wadwani tanuango ni wuoyi moro koni. These people are just, for me, as I understand it, these two groups of people are doing this. They're just in this marriage arrangement or whatever we might call it. They're serving the same purpose. Because, for example, it's very rarely in it. Chon, it was rarely why you nyamin baba u oneno ni uwe makama ber kodi. It was not on nyako makama ber kodi. I don't think ni the rejection could be ni tam rio kiwinjo wachwa kata would be very netin sana. In most cases, you would always think ni they are making the right choice. Iwacho ni waya kata uncle na kata whoever that relative is might not get it wrong. In most cases. Sanito kupogre nkech sanito social media. Tundalucha. So for me, these people are serving the kaki wachoni in the Korea, the turnout rate was almost 100%. Don't get divorced to jogo okendre. They didn't start the process. It's the parents. Kai jagam ni bend is just playing the same purpose. Kaka jonyuol jo Korea.
Idonge ai betimo gine kaka jagam odhi to ome to kele machiegni to match you based on preferences, no match. Seriously, nikech mane gima jagam ne temo timo.
AI is not, but the only problem I have with AI, in fact, I'm not even sure whether it's intelligent. That thing has got no emotions. How is it intelligent?
Intelligence. Tell intelligence ok need emotions. Intelligence and totally different from emotion.
That thing has got no emotions. Don't worry, emotions. Don't worry, adala gi emotions mage moroni boakoni gi emotions. This thing has got nothing to do with okwanda no kowinj gik muwinjogo.
Yeah, but mi apenjo awacho kama. Emomiyo nagolo that example of the Koreans. There was no emotional attachment at the beginning. Maki two strangers, they've talked for 30 minutes. But they still make it work.
The people starting the process are human. They understand. They understand something about.
Yeah, but don't kata AI kelo gimana together. AI ok bed ne nimo decide. Okelo gi together.
AI osenyuomo ng'amo ng'en ni nyombo.
AI ok nyuom ng'ato. Eno kelo gimana together. Obeda bridge.
Jonyuol ka osenyombo, moro osenyuom, moro osenyombo. They understand the issues around keny. AI onyuomo ng'a. Koro kodwa mriwo ka. Nobody. Anyway, aparo
George,
I
keep it
digress.
there. Nikech my important. Okay, he digress. You're not digressing.
Eh,
Nikech the same way anyalo penjo. An nasebeti kati i Twitter kanu ni group tikelo du ng'ama preacher mapok okendo to miu advice of marriage nikech ose cancel many people. Then pok okendo. Difference mare gi AI chal nade? Pok
you want
okendo.
my you want my honest opinion? That is nonsense. Nikeche.
Dhi mbele.
Onge pogruok e kinde gi social media nikech in social media even every fool in social media every fool is an expert in something. Ema wacho gino nyocha wacha ken na wacho e program mana wacho ni nyako ma 15 wuoyi 15 14 16 17 no odich gi ni koro puonjo ji about relationships nikech ang'o nikech osero nyako maromre kod and then they did okay gi what advice is she giving about relationships really honestly.
To that
Koro
station
ng'ani is a
nanyisi
pastor kuondet kuot en a pastor en kod ma pastor kuondet kuot and opoko nyombo to mi ni in koro ube udwa nyomre to udhi ubet kuome ne en emomiyo advice. That is nonsense. I can't take it. No.
but
I'm sorry.
en gi data George, en gi data. Mano one. Two, kwakawo the second example miwacho mar ng'ato ma 15 16 17 give me the advice on this, and my position is they can, nikech this relationship they're talking about is based on feelings, and okinyal wacho na 15-year-old, a 16-year-old, a 17-year-old is not feeling anything. Give me human. So giwuoyo from a human experience.
Ramoth.
Or giwuo as the institution. Nikech kiwinjo ka, George, gini en ka. Kaniwinjo kosome en ka. At the present, the tendency in marriage is towards individualism. Although it's still a matter where society plays a considerable part. But since the individual, man and woman, are taking greater part in deciding who they shall marry, there is now a greater opportunity to develop an attachment genuinely based upon love.
Love.
None is the point. So Okonya Lochoni, if now there's now a great opportunity to develop an attachment genuinely based upon love, Okonya Lochoni nyathini kia gimocho because they feel love. Nkech this thing, mana penjo. That was my whole question. Ni, emomi na chako with the question giwa about marriage, kose wedding. Nkech in all essence, marriage is no traditional marriage or modern marriage. Really, there's not. Emomi na penjo. Ananeno the difference is in the wedding. Nkech kata kwa dok chien, kata kwa dhi mbele, ama wadhi in the future, these people who are married, they will live together. Mane keny. They'll go through things together. Ups, downs, learning, fights, everything. Gibo go through all this together. Go through these experiences together. Emakelo keny. Cause and something else. Nkech aneno the difference and the difference and more how gisubstantiate ni jogi gin karachiel. Mane maku aluongo the wedding. Here, in this modern scenario, nkech kata madhiang is a modern scenario. It's a very modern scenario. And moroma the paper. No? Kata kutime i church buyudo paper, utime i mosque buyudo paper, itime ka government buyudo paper. And mana substantiate gini. This happened. Moro chanwa substantiate nikech dhiang' gi no go to here. So there's a living proof. We, Jomanen Kanyo, Emomio from the beginning, Jagamne bet. There are multiple witnesses. So Mane Kakani substantiate ni, the marriage, the wedding happened. The marriage end between these guys. Now under Kwachon, there's a traditional marriage and a modern marriage. All marriages is about the people living together and coming to a point of understanding each other. Or Katako can understand each other and survive with each other. Or Kotamre to Gino Rumokanyo. But it is the marriage that is finished, not the wedding. So I Tama sana. Nikej, that is why these people Ginyalo worry about Emomio Kiwinjoko worry about attachment genuinely based upon love. Mano Southall. Emomia Golo example from Korea. They don't do jogi is a Okujo Korea. It's a part of the Koreans. Mananeno, they do it up to today. Which is very different from Kaka Jomoko Time. Angomo timbre koro. Angomo timbre nkich. I'm not paying you those questions, George.
The Luo Girl, okay.
I'm not paying you those questions. And I know the way the wedding, the coming together of these people, it needed more witnesses in the traditional sense. But now in Kechi, the paper is there. Even those people can do it, and the government becomes the major witness. Then jogging nyalo dak together. And Kechi George, even at the end of it, koro ini dak kod chiegi, for example, to poku timo gini, poku substantiate the being together. In the eyes of the public. Ki toto dongoko yud gik.
Exactly.
So, in the traditional sense, in case there were witnesses, inyalo watching and great mayudo gike. But in the modern sense, in the modern sense, okoyud oseda katako kodi 40 years. And you've built everything together and tiweye kanyo. Mago mali ya serikali bana. People decide. So ananeno the whole process was substantiate ni jogi gibiro together. The marriage corona biro after. To sama omwinde nentie maybe did not look like there was support. But in the European system, kuma this sort of verification work, ntie therapists, ntie churches, ntie counselors, ntie a whole way Mother society has structured itself. Just the way one society was structured itself to take care of this. But in one day, Katako Chokama, to me it is not this part worry about marriage, worry about at present, the tendency in marriage is towards individualism. Although it is still a matter where society plays a considerable part. But since the individual man and woman are taking a greater part in deciding whom they shall marry, there is now a great opportunity to develop attachment genuinely based upon love. Steps are still usually taken, however, to ensure that the man's family has sufficient wealth to pay a satisfactory dowry. The cooperation of the society in which the girl lives is needed if the relationship is to be successfully established. So aneno ka society choselwa the way ma loso joluo oseluar and they come into society oseluar. So gitemo merge two things. Gitemo kawe from the European context of how this process ma marriage work. Okay, chochako with the introduction mar gintin gigere gi date. Kagi say date to gichopo kama gibedo fiancé with rings, and then gibodhi to gi propose, and then o propose to manobed fiancé, and then gidhi kendre. But this is still the part magi confirm mane maluongo the wedding, not the ceremony itself, because the ceremony is the what mbele ng'ato, handing over of the cows. Handing over of the cows. Ineno gima temo wacho.
Awinji.
Because keto dowry is a very modern thing. Keto dowry, the way we about dowry, because at one time nen dhiang', and tinde iwacho ni nyaka iter dhiang', pesa ok kwan. To me, society moseluar, it is completely confused. Totemo impose new rules in its confusion. So pesa ok kwan. Kata kikelo million, niwinjo ni kata kikelo million pesa ok kwan. Mano is a scam. Kiwacha dier. Mano is a scam.
The Luo Girl, mute your mic.
Oda. It seems like mano is a scam. No, idiko data keto 1 million to mano ok kwan. Ikwano dhiang'. To kor gi nyakono. Kor gi nyakono kuma wadhiye no. Gin mana gi dhok ariyo. To mago borumo thoroughly.
Ramoth, in the sense, kiwache ni scam, you've put the right word in it. Nikeke, I think it has been commercialized. That is one. Pesa no gidwaro pesa no. Pesa no to gidwaro. To at the same time, dhiang' be gidwaro, but pesa ting'isi nok kwan. Iwinjo? Kati gol mana million adek, pod ing'isi ni mano ok kwan. Ni gidwar ni dhiang' emibro kwan ni dhiang' achiel ariyo kelo dhok adek, mano gibro kwano, but pesa to gidware nyaka imigi pesa. But ok kwane. So long as this so-called marriage institution obedo commercialized, it doesn't last. That's why it never lasts nowadays. Because it is pegged on something. It's pegged on something. And pegged on something. And everybody here is involved. When you all bend the war, joma dwa nyuomre gi kata dwa kendre gi madwa bet gi bende ga ng'ato ni kod competing interests mag gi as a person. We have to go back to the drawing board. We have to decide. We are using new rules, new world, new associations with borrowed culture, as it were, and we want to impose it to still stand in for an institution that has been having its rules or conditions mosebet kamiyo or succeed for the longest time. You can't bring that new setup of your thinking in marriage to that Korean system or work. It won't work. That section of Korean, it won't work, because before these people start putting these people together, gimidwa kuonge wacho ni wuoyi ni tiyo tich mane. Oyudo pesa di. Nyarwa ni wapuonjo nyaka university. Koro en million adek no toko kwan. Lakini nyaka ukel dhok abich. To pesa ke bit pesa
It's what you mean. I mean, gigoni bill matere school.
Yes, it happens.
Koro mano nyiso ni,
These things happen.
mano nyiso ni, no wapenji. Mano wacho ni in our modern society ema wauso mon kose.
Exactly.
To dog naparo ni negiwacho kwerewa ema ne uso mon.
That is why we have there is a big job. That piecing of that Luo village back to it's gonna take blood and sweat for it to happen. You have to overcome all this. You have to. Ng'at mose puonjo nyathine nyaka university will mention to you that kidhi nyuomo nyara. I've taken a young man for negotiations. We were told, Ramo, and I'm not saying this. Kikwado kama wantie man is one example. This is me talking from experience, Ramo. Ni ingeni nyako ni wapuonje nyaka university. It watered down what we went to do there. How do we start negotiations from there? Where do we start from now? How is that part of dark majogi dwadakni?
Ichodo ji warning kendo nyako modhi school kose.
But
I'm mana curious.
okay, that's a very good question. Then what I asked, and who told you you need to go to the university? What do we do with that? Does that cancel Koro Wawere? What do we do?
George wabeta moro owadwa ne gi girlfriend moro to koro nwadhi neno nyakoni. So nitie some stories and everything. So wanwadhi neno, wadhi visit nyakoni. So nitie scam mane mamwa kod babwa moro modong' kod owadwa and all this intricacies. But gima pod wa remember ga nikech nadhi kod owadwa kod relative na moro. Pastor moro ne nitie kanyo ka wachno iwuoyo. To pastor no nyisowa ni koro nodwa ng'iyo kaka dhi nikech kaka ineno wamiyou nyako masilili. Donge Silili and virgin, donge George?
Yes, Lilian Virgin, yes.
Nyako ni a son of 23 years. Kanya man wang'eyo no, okay. Vindu vuchenjaga. Silili then whatever they say. Okay, and what it meant. So the experiences one ago, and it is interesting. Katakine no observation mar ominde. Nyisa ni this process of timo gigi in this way no chakre chon. It might not be the original way, but it has been there. It has been done for a long time. Gimomi akelo at this point. Then katantie question ma Luo Girl osepenjo ka. Ni if gima ominde wacho is not the factual fact, why does it relate so much to our modern experience? Why does it seem like this is how we grow up? This is the context where we grow up. Things happen in these ways. How comes? So one it's an important question. You can recognize that society is broken. Osebedo defeated sana. So it is in the interest of your of Jomano Luare Ping. They pause time. Especially Kagido strategy mami bet kakanyate. It is important to pause time. For you, it's the same experience from 1920 to 1930 to 1940 to 1950 to 2026. Nikech obo produce the same type of person. Manemo, you're looking deeply into Gigi. Kirango give from a very surface level. Ibo neno no worry about your real experience. What you experienced. And idea, you experience this. But okay, recognize ni you experience this in case something happened to your society. Part no bedoga lost. Part no bedoga lost. Kata joma ng'eny, so-called researchers, scholars, ndiko gagino in that. Chal ng'amogo picha. George Noan Kodi, wach Noan Kodi, April 2026. Alaf kigo picha to. Every time kwarango that picture, you will always be that age, that day, that spot, that time. Tijalo bet ni grow sani. Maybe sani. But and very important me what this snapshot of now. So the snapshot is very important in Africa Masan in the snapshot of 1940s, chalg 1950s, chalg 1960s. It's very important. Because you produce the same characteristics and the same characters. So manana adoke logino. But Odimbele. Steps are still usually taken, however, to ensure that the man's family has sufficient wealth to pay a satisfactory dowry. Can you answer that, Judge? Nkechun manong iso no seteri jinyaka university uboti monade. Koro omed value addition tax. VAT. Family omed VAT. Uboti monade.
Hey, yeah. Ramoth, I want to answer this in my way kakawachaga pile. Wachunga kara. Wachunga kara in the sense ni wakao matin from what we say quoted quote culture. Koro wariwo gi madhi mbele sani. Kani nyombo 1949, 47, 46, 40, onge ng'ama ne nyalo wacho ni wach school. It was purely what was required. Aseromo nyombo, adwa nyombo, this is nyako ma either kelna or anwang'o because kelo be ne nitie jogamgo were there and all that. Anema nwang'e oro miago. No, those things ne nyalo bede, but sani the first thing value added tax nitiere. To en gima timre sani. A number of young men are also running away from family setup kind of marriages nikech these things. Nikech there are situations ma jonyuol kata anyuola oserido ne jomodhi nyombo sana ma jogi kata ne koro osebet no oseherore tinwang'o ni wuoyi koro pull out. Ng'ama hinyre sama wuoyi pull out. Kiny wuoyi pull out because the family is like akwanyal, we can't. To wuoyi be is like nah, ka en kamano to ai wacha ikae. Abe asomo. So such are things. Koro what the current generation are also looking for a way for their own survival tactic in all this. Nikech value added tax koro be oseme to jonyuol or relatives ema dware. So we, as much as koro we can't blame people mayudre kigin even on the internet and gikawre introduction and ang'ono tim 2 kids later. Deka koro ng'ani jogi dwa ng'ere kama ne giaye. 2 kids later. There was a case in Kisii, these 2 people went 2 kids later only to realize they were cousins. They've already have 2 kids. So a number of things have gone wrong because we left our ways. We left our ways. We ran away from the village and locked the doors behind us and moved out. We are now struggling to open those padlocks back, Ramon. So my take is we have to restrain if we want. This is my personal take on marriages and relationships. If we want to maintain this institution, we have to retrace back. We have to retrace our steps back. Where did the rain start beating us? We have had cases, big weddings are happening. Millions of Kenya shillings are being used. Beautiful cars are paraded and beautiful venue. 2 years down the line, the thing is off. Why? Jomoko bende kaora kawa simple.
George, nikech lavo rumo.
Exactly.
Lavo rumo.
The attachment, what was attached to that thing is gone. It can't stay forever. There was something that was attached. It can't stay forever. It's gone. Whenever that thing flies out of the window, the relationship is gone. And Ramoth, the other thing, because we have to talk lively life to our people. The other thing that Kobedo overcharged. Right now, why are we fighting the government? Because we are being overtaxed. In marriage is the same. Chulo too much money for you. I expect my expectation might change when you come. Every time come mention, imagine come mention na chulo pesa manging dala utobokane gi mikonyago. Yes. Yes. That's why achulo angomo miyo wachulo tax mar okwadwar udi. It's the same thing. Wanyalo gero udi dala. Rito should not build for us houses. Why is he getting our money? That's where the problem is. Nanyalo yudo nyako mokabedo overcharged. Why did your parents overcharge me? And I don't even see what you're doing to me. Those are the realities on the ground.
ma 2020 ma 2000s kila kitu nigi bei.
That's the truth.
Telo mos kuom ng'adi. Ang'e nwa dwell only on the first part, but this is very important. Mokongo was that idea of all the traditional kind of marriage and marriage as it is conducted nowadays. And maybe Anmoka understand, but again, marriage is the union of these people. The only thing kumo change here ni how it is kakobedo substantiated. Really, these ones are together. Okay, the family and the core of society. Now I worry about society in general, not Luo society, not specifically for Luo, people who have mostly rising to their Luoness. So every society nyaka bed gi systems magi kaka gi gamo and kaka gi temo bedo society obed stable. So in this case, or you don't tie jagam. And that was a strategy ma ochopo nyaka sani ma jomoko tiyo gi AI system pod not the same. But nitie gimowacho ka which is very interesting. Mokwongo, and this had the effect of reducing the importance of the bridegroom, whose initiative gave way to a dependence upon the goodwill of his relations, to whom the task of negotiation was left. So, kowacho kama to kaka niwacho magi joma pok odonjo, So gikia the weight of bedo married and everything. Or gingeo the weight of bedo married gise watch. But ibo kete nadi on sticking with this person. Nkech money is a stick to itiveness. Ninyalo stick to something. Emanyisho is one of the signs of maturity. Ninyalo stick with the thing until the end. And even past the end. And when it is necessary, ninyalo change course. But as long as wange kuma objective nti. Okibed sidetracked could the things manti on the sides. You stick to it. So mane manyiso ni ngani nyalo handle this. But mondo wangis ni ochako this process as a reminder to himself. Okay, in the Luo society, this processes manyaki remind yourself. Nich emomi in juogi. Remind yourself gima timre. Nikech bedo dhano gik moko nyalo confuse. Ina dhano. Meaning ni inyalo chopi situations maseche moko ineno ni doubt. But nyakimiri mijingo. And positive affirmations ok ti sate. If at all. Nikech ineno seche moko ineno the situation to the situation chal madhi negi. Kata kiwacho na kichako positive affirmations ama winner ama ok bitiyo. So kochopi maturity to gimana temo wacho ni there has to be ways ma nyiso kata the society nikech jogi bodak in the society and this one has taken responsibility for ngani and mano was done in many ways and kata sani kaka niwacho George ntie additional tax on top of it mano en kaka entie sani kata ka wacho ni it is because the society crumbled but I mean something very specific. Okay, I mean the way mar cow as evidence emo crumble. I mean now understanding of what is happening emo crumble. So kaka wacho great care is also taken to see that the marriage of the couple would not go against the normal stratification of relationships already in existence. So kata jagamno emana penjo what was his purpose? Purpose nen jogi ok the first ones to be married. And this marriage koro we wedding we process ma wedding this person bikawe officially obedo recognized ni koro en marry. Now marriage itself ntie so connections and a network of connections. To ok in the first be mose bedo married. An example en mano. An example en kaka example mane gimiyo ni girango nyaka lineage. Nikech info inyalo neno nyako ni tihere. But why are they saying you cannot marry each other? Why are they specifically giwacho ni ok inyal kendo nyako ni nikech en relative? Ikiaye pokiwa inene labda en kata relative mabor. Ang'o matimre? What is happening? Especially in the Luo context koro. What is really happening? Njoja ang'o matimre?
Is currently.
I mean, not current. I mean, what is happening behind the story? Like, why are they refusing you to marry this one?
Oh, oh, that's what you mean. At some point, thing is in you can't marry this one.
Yeah, Nikichi, you love her. Watching even in the modern context, you love her. She's attractive. Don't you?
It goes
You
back.
love her.
Does it not go back to the same thing more actually? It's about the society, the individual participation is quite minimal. The society have to decide for you.
Mane mapenjo, why are they deciding?
Because they think it has been done a thousand of years. It's the right thing to do.
And gima nowacho nyoro cha, especially in the Luo context. Why are they refusing this? Why are they so? Why are they so keen on this?
Well, okay, let's leave alone all those others. But for me, the reason why, Ramon, there are standards. They are keeping, the society keeps, either consciously or unconsciously, they have to keep the village unfiltered according to them. It doesn't matter whether it's the truth or not. But there are people they simply cannot allow to come into the village until or unless they have proved their worth, that they are worth coming into the village. They are worth being registered, if that is, for lack of a better word, or admitted into the village. So the society is playing that part because they have to protect the village from infiltrations to things. For example, guard against things like, for example, it could be one example, but Juok, possibly somebody knows something. No, you cannot come in here. And also, just generally, Ramoth, there is the person being and the human being. There could be characteristics of this. This is just a person being. It's a person, a human person, not a human being. So in Luo context, if we strictly sticking to what we discussed yesterday, those could be some of the reasons why somebody might be told no. Or they have done their research and there is something missing. This person is not right to be. She doesn't deserve, or he doesn't deserve it yet to be registered amongst us. There are observations that the society have around this person. For them to say no, okinyal nyuomeka or okonyal nyomboka, there is something they're protecting. It could be it could be not important to us or to somebody outside, but to them inside there, they're protecting something. Yeah.
Mano awache kama. Iparo kaka nowacho ni there's the understanding of Luo, but the Luo is a pure human being.
Yes.
So, in the situation kaka mantie jagam manyako ng'e and all these things, gima gitemo protect and the young people themselves. And more past the young people is the children mabo wuok kanyo. Nikech idwa keto itemo keto mondo kiki deny them through your actions, kiki deny them the capacity to be Luo. Nikech kitimo kamano gitemo wacho no okay, kwakawo joge wach ni ng'ato kendo nyamin gi, and then we have this person ma an orientation mare is very negative. Why? Nikech in the cause of my survival, ma Joluo dak in very different environments. Jomodak Kisumu, I mean joma nonyuol Kisumu, nikech gin karibu gi lake and all these things, gik ma gichamo, that type of environment. Although gin Joluo, genetic makeup margi opogre matin o mang'eny moloyo kata ji ma from a bit of time gisebet Alego kama onge mass body of water and a totally different environment from the plants and everything. Iparo ni jomo osebedo mature in Africa one of the most important things magitimo is consistently study nature. Momiyo gichako mathematics. So ok gidwa mess with your chances ma interact with nature. Nikech ji ariyo nokowinjo wach. And they made you vulnerable by giving you the genes magi water down. So kang'ani okawo nyamin-gi, they have watered down the genes. Genes gi romre. Magichal magnets machal. So kawadwa nwa lost the next generation mondo bed matek. One of the best scientific ways monyalo timo ni idhi kend kia Homa Bay idhi kend Alego kucha. Nikech umiyo the next generation chance ma survive in two different environments. Understanding my jogging and very different. And very different. So kataka jogi kia to ready society protect gi. Nikech nitie science matiyo but nyalo bet negi kia. Emomiyo gidhi rango kata ka jogo gin joma osedonji society. Nikech parie ji ne nyalo nyuolre to pod pok gidonji maturity poko manifest. Kopim gi ami example George. Babau jamriambo. Oriambo ma otit berberia. But ka girango giwacho ne nyako ni probably nikech gidaka kod ng'ani osepuonjo gi riambo. So wan okwadwa jominyuolo kanyo nikech maybe
gidhi bedo jomiriambo gin be.
Mano society molwar.
Exactly.
Nikech mano society makata ka gin attacked to jogi ng'iso gin onge gima rach. Onge gima rach, onge gima botimre. Everything will be fine. Mano society mobedo massacred. So nitie characteristics moko mane girango nikech ok gin conducive to the sustainability of the society. So as much as society no protect itself, lakini also protect kiny. Nikech nthindo e polo. That is where we will dwell forever. Nowacho joluo ok dhi nyange nikech they see their sexual organs as the way to live forever. As long as one nthindo will always be. Mane omin kowacho mae polo. Society ni is your everlasting life.
And so Ramoth, one way of Luo's making sure that line is not crossed. They used to say ni kunyuomre wede to nyithindo mudhi nyuomo gi nyithindo marowurni actually. So imagine a society manyuolo nyithindo marowurni te. You've put it on point. It has answered that.
Ing'en ginyalo wacho kamano George, ginyalo wacho ni rowurni nikech gima Ominde is observing. Now these people are behaving like this. But Ominde is in 1940 something. The massacres manotime 1800s okia.
Exactly.
So kata jogi emana wacho gi example ma dano. Onyalo ng'isi jogo bo bet rowurni nikech ok understand the science behind it. Enoyudo ka gini timoga kamano. So en nokawo gino kaka nong'ise nikech ne en pod pok odonjo ir duo in the society and understand the deeper side. Nikech gigi understand gidwaro maturity moro Donge awacho ni stick to itiveness. I mean ni ok the first concept mobiro iwiyi is the truth.
That's true.
Mano need a certain maturity mok yot yudo. Even the first reaction ma in go is the one you will do. Ineno kaka seche moko ka iyo wang' kaka tek ling mondi i relax, be cool down. Nikech idwa react, especially ka ng'ano wacho mriambo. Idwa react mondi correct the situation. But kaw so much patience mondi ling. Kwanza king'en ma jamriambo, gini ok bi chopo kumopare no. So let me wait. Maturity nigi a demand maduong' sana. So ka niromo kod joma ok inyal, ineno ni pok ochopo maturity. To ng'ise ni ji bowuok raura nikech koro ibo explain ne nade the science.
That's exactly.
So that example mana ng'ise madam.
Very true, because if you are being told when you are still young, because you are in oseneni, you are growing up ka to jonyuol neno ni nyathini koro kamochimeni soon obro chako sero. So how will you understand the science behind what even if they start explaining it? Nyathina
And
kidhi
too deep.
into
And too deep.
oro nyise mana piyo piyo ni nyathina kik iser watni. Kisero watni kopo nonyuol to ubro nyuolo nyithindo marolni. That story ends there.
To jomoko be pod ne time George.
Okay. Maka gin joma nyi describe ka. Nyi describe human beings.
Where awacho kama. It still happened to pod happen sani.
Agreed.
That is my only point. Kawaching that this type of people are using so ntie joma nok winj. That is my point. Koro joma ok winj. How do you do? Because this was a discussion mane ntie. Ineno ukelo point ma irodho ng'ani. Ichodho ng'ani del kotimo gini. Ne chopo kama George realize ni ng'ani maturity ok donj. Ok donj. Ntie teacher moro ma in our modern times watamre yie ni it is a very good teacher. O lead ga to maturity. Iluonge ni pain. Iluonge ni pain. In our modern context, kowinjo ga ni ng'ato bedo inflicted pain on. Ouse, kora wuoyo about pain in general. Ok amin moro ma koro ng'ato miyo ji pain just miyo ji pain. Nowacho ni ji kaka magi, niwacho ni magi ok dhano. Gin human persons lakini ok gin human beings. I mean pain ma uncomfortability. Ok pain ma abo wache nade. Nikech kata wach ni in German ntie kaka gidefine mopogre. Ntie pain ma iwinjo rem. To ntie pain ma en uncomfortability. Gini en uncomfortable. So inyalo bet ni ini irem, to that is all. Wach ni ichwanyo tiendi and that is all. Ini rem. Dondi ng'isi ni gimoro timre i koki ka. Omi feedback to the brain. Mana chiel. But nyalo bet situation mwaketi ni wami this same feedback to the brain. But watime intentionally. Ok ni chwanyo tiendi or some accident to tim. Wami intentionally nikech watemo awake your brain to something. nikech brain nochal nonindo. Emomiyo jomoko nirodho. Naneno video moro online ka recently ni nitie ng'at moro ma en kila saa ochwado chiege for no good reason. Koro jodongo okete piny to jodongo orodhe thoroughly. To ka gisetieko to giluongo mon orodhe thoroughly. Nikech oseng'ise several times ni we go dhakoni, ibo hinye, ibo nege. Moso ipuonjo nyithindi marach. The lesson mipuonjo nyithindi marach ni everything ibo tieko ga girodho ng'ato. Nikech kata relationships kaka magi, onge kuma ineno ga kata ka gilas to magi joma immature kabisa. En joma kidwa bet go, gin dakika matin to gigore, gikendre but gin every time en ga padruok. That is what they enjoy. Kaka an kuna mana ng'isi cha George, wife ne mogik. Orusa ngum to chiege rusa pat to ogolo flying kick to chiege ogolo uppercut to gidhi ga. Suore to dhi. Oriwacho ni emomiyo napenje. That is why napenje that question. Nang'o mimi advice ma in nokifollow? Dini follow to nawacho no wonder nodak maber. So ibe pass on proverbs, pass on gik miparo ne knowledge nikech niwinjo from somewhere. But karango track record ni, time mani nitie evidence kata time mani ng'ise noko winj. Nikech nitie kata some of chiege go moa in the same area moae. To nokwere. To at that time mani kwere nowacho nahere. Ok nowinj wach. Koro labda ne girodhe to ne wiye obiro maber. But nok girodhe, so no happen kaka no happen. So amana kelo that idea of pain. Kaka Joa no understand pain. Okay, kaka wa understand pain sana.
Yeah. In a project Ramoth, nobody wakes up at 30 to en kaka en. Kano kobedo corrected at 5. No kungi say at 5. Okay, sani, I'm sorry kumngadi, but sani ka nyathi owuoyo or he talked back to an adult, the parent laughs and says, huyu mtoto wangu ni tough kama nini." They start there. Hapo. At 10.
At and tough kaka one.
Yeah, when at 5, he's talked about back at you. He bangs things and doesn't listen and all that. Madimak lembe fun kabisa mo length mawiye lokre.
Anto a support George. Anta support. A support. Obed tough kaka. The only problem, the only issue mawacho, the only condition. Nikech ma democracy tinde. Imanyene planet modhi dak kende. Nikech dak kod nyithindwa gwich teko no kodwa. Odhi thago nyithindwa.
Yeah,
So manyene world ne odak guro kaka king.
they graduate and then they are fully grown and they go to work and then they cannot get correction from their supervisors. Nobody corrected them ever. Who is this?
Nadwa
That software is installed at age 5. Go tech. Yeah.
George mano is manemo miwacho gane Luo is amazing. Nikech in the process of forming a juogi identity, ox name, nyaka goal these things yourself. Mane beauty ma Luo. Ninyak okibi hide from you. The last frontier in your desires, your weaknesses, your flaws. The last frontier in and gibongis to form this jogi name magilongo Nox name. Mondo you don't choose Ibo confront yourself. Mane momi ahere nikech oketo the power ilweti. Momi awacho the point of pain nikech that process is painful. Very painful. Confront anyone. Inge kaka yot correct jomoko. Inge how easy it is to correct jomoko. Inge how easy it is to correct jomoko.
Oh, sorry, I dropped for a second.
No aluaro wate.
Oh, right, yeah. Okay, we joking.
Inge how easy it is to correct jomoko. Inge how difficult it is to get line. Molungo gani self-control.
Yes.
Gino tech.
In fact, if you can't lead yourself, you can't be a leader.
Mane momiyo ahero ga Luo nikech it puts this thing in you. Hatongisin kise go through the process miwa nyingi majuogi. And then waboket in society we prove if you really have done the process well, kosi tugo. Emomiyo bedo machua. Yudo nji kata gin 30 akiang'o wato podi.
Yeah.
Podi. Poki chiek. Maturity podo bai. Mane wacho ni obedo replaced gi jogi riek. Negi replace gini kod papers. Koro yudo paper. Whatever paper miyudo. Korin mature. And by papers I mean kata ID.
Wacho nyingi.
Korin ma in otek. Gimoro ma nadwa gine ka. Kwa biro about kaka gigi change. The cultures change. Nikech sani ka relate gi story mani wacho kaka no penju dhiang'.
Yeah.
Obo bet mabor matin. Nying juogi gi. Koro penjo ni the remains of Nilotic cattle complex. Alafu okuot mama moro. In a summary, the Nilotes and the Anglo-Egyptian Sudan and Uganda. Winjie the title. The Nilotes of the Anglo-Egyptian Sudan and Uganda. Anglo-Egyptian. Audrey Bat, Mano 1952, Ondiko 1952. Around after Omindo Sendiko, not far during that time, writes that the Nilotes are essentially pastoralists. Although they cultivate the ground in order to procure an adequate food supply. This is done from necessity in most cases and not out of devotion. At heart, they are cattle people, and their love of herds is a fundamental social reality. Cattle are not just an economic asset. Among the main Nilotic tribal groups, only the Korowachogi and the Anuak may be reckoned as people who do not care for cattle. But continues. But continues remarking that the extensive list of cattle names and ox names, which is found in their language, suggests, however, that at one time the Anuak were predominantly pastoral and cattle people in the Nilotic sense. Iwinjo, George?
Awinji.
But koro ma in 1952 ng'at moro mama moro be quote mamzungu quote. Yani wacho kama this is not the place to compare the different Nilotic societies and role played by cattle in it. Nor do I want to discuss the definition of the Nilots as being predominantly pastoral and cattle people. In quotes, Maoketo in quotes, a definition which obviously holds true for the Nuer and the Dinka, but which is already more doubtful for the Shiluk. Magi other Luos. Watch your other Luos. Watch your other Luos. Let alone other tribes. Because of the importance of the question, I feel necessary to search for the remains of the cattle complex of the Nilots in Luo society of today. Logic of that idea, that complex. Nekechine the word cattle complex, ngamokele into the discussion. There's a cattle complex. Ngamokele this idea. And mama zongone. Follow me. Follow me. Ngamokele the idea of cattle complex. And mama zongone. Injeka called the along. Asking if the hypothesis about the pastoral past of the Luo can be supported by present facts, or if, on the contrary, there are Nilots without a cattle complex. Korogiwoyo, classify Luo as Nilots. Giwoyo about this Nilot block. Very interesting Gimoro Timbre. All of the following information, except for the comment on ox names, appears in its more relevant context in different chapters and is assembled here to view a more comprehensive analysis of the question. For full appreciation of the role played by cattle, it is not only necessary to emphasize the economic and the spiritual value of cattle in Luo society. It is equally important to consider all of these instances where cattle should stand in the focus of social attention if they were. Now I know a bit more Martin. Bear with me. It is equally important to consider all of these instances where cattle should stand in focus of social attention. If they were of essential significance, they are where they are found to have been replaced by other values. One should not look at the kind. One should then look at the kind of such other social or spiritual values and try to find out if they possibly have replaced, for what possible reason, or perhaps more primitive value, or perhaps a more primitive value. Winjeka George. Now this is some of that context, and because of this, the present situation in Luoland is known. Cattle play only a minor role in both spiritual and economic lives of the Luo, and are not used for bride wealth. About why? The present situation in Luoland is known. Kawacho Luoland, or Kamin only Kenya. Luoland Duong. Think of it like this. Cattle play only a minor role in both spiritual and economic lives of the Luo, and are not used for bride wealth. If it were not for the custom of using ox names, one could hardly find arguments for explaining the cattle's extraordinary significance in the lives of people. But how had the situation been in the past? First of all, let us search for the cattle's role in Luo mythology. For it is in mythological times that we find the basis of people's spiritual and social concepts. Mythology explains the organization of the world in reference to a particular one's own society. That part, George, Mar Wachoni, in Luo before, the idea was not, the marriage price was not, or the marriage evidence was not cattle. No ken dog. No ken dog. It was beads. It was beads. Moso, gimami no achon gimanga ne observe and confusing. Or you do a society that is confused. Nikech no achon at the beginning, some jogi no donjo, whether it was the European or the Arab. They wanted something that would make you work for them. So Nenyaka introduce tax. Nenyaka introduce tax because that is what makes you work for them. But mokuongo, nikech you have a lot of cows and you're sustainable, he has to find a way to remove this thing from you. So the first thing nobody demand in tax is the cows. Going down, puonjoji, nikech tax is due every month in context mar Europe, mar Guinea, mar colonialism, in this colonial setting, tax is due every month. What do? You need more. So which is the best way to get it? George, which is the best way to get it? Demanding it as a price for marriage.
Ohala chakre.
Tineno, most of the things Martin Sani, which we call Luo culture, gain as a result of this experience, this back and forth. It is lost to our memory. And it has stuck. The types of houses more make, the type of arrangements, the type of attitudes more actually was normal for Luo. Meaning, Ominde talk so many of them. Emana actually, yes, after the situation was really locked. Now, Makoro, they got you to a position where you have nothing else. The land is gone. The cattle are gone. The crops are gone in the sense, the crops that now you raise are the ones they say. Not the ones you say, the ones they say. Cash crop and Nkech gik midwa miye kaka bel kalago mago kocham ga kendo ko badhe. Odwa ni grow ne sugar cane, cotton, ing'eyo. Ubedo stuck in that loop. Nikech oloko inside out. So the situation bodong the same. Momio kata kominde wacha in 1952, 1949, 1946. Tokineno jiwachon they grew up in that in 1990s in kata sani jomantie dala. It means the system is still there. That is why everything operate ka cooperate. Haya. nyisoga ji how the system is operating tech ga because they think gini mi get degrees and education, so they think it is them. Okay, kawan so far from our ancestors, so the things manotimre history was back there to one in modern times. The names mawaluongre kaka joluo, which names are these? Titus, George, Andrew, William, Paul, Michael, Stacy. Nying gi oa kure? Daniel, Joyce, Jen, Mildred. To kwanza our ancestors negin hardcore. Injoga nyingien Scholastica Adongo, Trufena Olo. Mano one. Come on, is so free. How comes Mago is the words ma winjo? The food mawa chama. Food mawa identify with 100%. Mago chiemo mage. Mago chiemo mage. Kwa kethe. The gods we worship. The interpretation. What they want. How they look at the world. Where are these things from? So Podwani the same situation or even a worse one than Kwere one met. We are there. Come on, the change one in sport. Emomio na golo that example George ni ngato ngisi ne dokemi kwana.
Peso kwan.
Hey, tongisi ne owuoyo about Luo culture. To kidok chien tiyudo for the bride price. Waluonge ni bride price kaka wazunge luonge.
Though was
It was
not.
not it was not even considered. Abo, next time we go through the Luo Girl nkech wadhi into marriage, ibo neno the importance of the beads and their colors and the different distinctions magin go. And why another part of the story ni nyathi moro no muonyo bead. Emomiyo nidwa baro yie to jomoko ogolo tong and then society split. Wasewacho ni dhiang' represent the thinking of the person donkey. But now you don't, other than represent the person, kochopo to people, women to men, sama gi exchange. Dhiang' biro in full swing as a result of jogi dware. To gikawe by force. To gitimo kamano intentionally nikech gidwa ni bed dependent. Koroko ka ominde ndiko gino after some 20 years. They are so fresh from the experience. But oko recognize it. At all. Kaka wan be okwa recognize it. Watemo wuoyo as if this is the truth. Because you know I experienced this as young people, so it means this is what happened. So many things Obedo introduced through our experience with these systems. It is amazing. But the kwan pesa kwan do kemi kwan. So emana wachon kwa biro at the point of Luo Girl. Emana min nyoro. Cut at this point, you don't many people care at this point. To kwa duoko chien, the person manokelo this idea of a cattle complex. In reality, gionge cattle complex. Use the cattle, the cow to represent something. But these people have a cattle complex. No, by far. By far, there are this quote unquote group of people called Nilots who have a cattle complex. An invented term. Jomano Luo Nile. Okay. But Jomoko be Guinea Highlands, Tilungo Guinea Highland, Nilots. So you don't is Magoto no Luo Highlands. Nile, money, which Nile you say Highlands? Okay, Tilungo Guinea Nilots, because they are close to the Nile. So majority, mommy and I talk about this discussion, we're about marriage, so we're about wedding. Okay, even in traditional society, there was a wedding. And then kama wazunge, there's no white dresses. Koro jiparon, there is none. Kata wa Indian tie kod wedding. Kata Muslims in tie kod wedding.
Very elaborate.
So majority of jogi kangiso they're differentiating between the wedding. No wedding wa jogi is traditional compared to wedding wa jogi. Alafu chako go into this whole thing about the importance of the bride and to worry about the wedding part. Or worry about the marriage. In case the marriage is the responsibility of society. Korogi don't know this thing well. With kaka wachon gan thindo. Som gini mondo kaka ningisowa. Som gini nkech gini ibo yudo tich. Kidhi somo moko gi to kibi yudo tich. Watemo migi that type of advice. So society betemo miyo give the fighting chance. Koro ng'ato bet kanyo to ng'isi owudane. Naneno moro koduok. Koro nyaka idhi rang. Kama ng'ani magini. So otemo miyi fighting chance. Odoparon kamane kaka the culture has always operated. But traditions also on tradition law rega. One time there was no cows, now there's cows. Anian cow go pesa. Maybe in the future bobe to Bitcoin. Wangenad. Traditions evolve, but the culture, the reasons why the people do the things they do and the strategies Magigolo and the systems of developing those strategies is the culture. Nane majogi mean kagiwachon consciousness, a certain dimension. Abola logini. Wawekan. Jojin give me do wachokan. Do my do something.
Liberal Guinea. Ramoth, I think we learn every day. There's a big learning. Possibly those who are closer to you get this information faster before everybody else. But I'm sure or rather not faster, but earlier before everybody else because of possibly engagement that we might be having during some research and all these things. But who knew? Who knew that dhok masani koro kaswago gi bende kare noken kata giri joluo mar chulo quote and quote bride price ni beads mani to kanyoro watimo Lwanda Magere and you are painting before we started talking about the village. You painted how the picture of the village. Beads was played a major part of it. There was beads that was mentioned. Tokendo beads now was associated with elegance and the beauty of the you know, the young, especially the young Luo girls in the village. So it makes a lot of sense to me that beads were highly valued and not the cows. Irawinjo kiluongen cow, koro cow, they have a cow complex, complex yang iduol gini cool.
I mean, cattle complex. I mean, in their mind, cows are very important.
It's amazing because now these white ladies also now painting a totally different picture. Uminde and Holworth be ochako timo margi. And that's why me, I think in finishing, I said, we have a mission. And our mission, as we have it, is to piece back together these things. It is quite interesting. The young people known to Karadokbe was not even part of bride price. I'm using the word
George
bride price.
Wangadi Monda Ketgini, Wakora
Very
K.
cautious.
Okay, completely. I'll give an example of Evans Pritchard. Pritchard know a lot of things about Africa. Well, I cut that part. The myth about the stranger who came from the river, Ochuodo, alias Okiro, the father of the first Luo king, usually describes Ochuodo as a fisherman arriving on a log of wood in the company of an assistant, Oduro. When caught, his utensils consisted of a harpoon and a string of beads only. Komako Chuodo. While even here, he came to contain kingship and moreover divinity and immortality. For the first time, we find beads to contain the essence of spirituality. We know that from this moment on, royal history has been the story of endless quarrels and killings among the pretenders to the royal throne, not because of cattle, but because of beads. The magical essence of the beads is shown in another royal anecdote, telling how the wife of the impotent king could not conceive a child because of the absorption of beads. In the everyday life of the modern that time, Luo, beads are still used to protect people against evil spirits and to purify and to strengthen them in the case of illness. For the Luo, beads contain a purely spiritual matter which can absorb or fight evil forces, possibly even mediate between the evil and the humans. Wa jump canyon, kechmano bengisi kowachon the modern ongise gibe the effect time manen kanyo, the effect of system and them. There's an effect. But odhikoro koduogo the gima jodongo koro ng'ise. The bead is essential. Therefore, beads can be said to mediate between the sphere of spirituality and of the individual, but not between the spiritual sphere and society as a collective existence. The bead is essentially female and not aggressive. Its male and bold counterpart is the spear, standing up as a symbol of society, and especially the self-consciousness of society. That last part. The bead is essentially female and not aggressive. Its male and bold counterpart is a spear, standing up as a symbol of society and especially the self-consciousness of society. Unlike the bead, the spear does not mediate, but pierces. It's not spiritual. Transcendental. It's not spiritual or of a transcendental nature, but of a material, earthly essence. The spear now, it is of an earthly essence. It is not of a spiritual essence. Local beads, it was a deeper understanding. Beads are named just because they are beautiful. They not represent kingship or represent royalty and consciousness. So, or represent a society, Luo, a self-conscious society. I would apparently maybe a care too much.
Very interesting part there, especially the beat being not aggressive. It's female. Its a counterpart that's aggressive and represents the opposite is the spear. Ramoth, how comes the beats? Was it done deliberately? This is the only question I want to ask in the essence of what we've just been talking about. Because the beads comes out now as one of the most important aspects of life in the Luo consciousness. And it's right now is the most rarest thing to find amongst the Luo. Or am I getting it wrong? Is it coincidence or it was done deliberately? Dhok mikwano kae mang'eny.
Depends on why the beads have disappeared.
What happened? Yes. They replaced them
Two
deliberately.
things.
Dhok okwan to beads olal kosan.
Two things. Mokwongo gipong'o beads go Europe kuro in the museums oktugo. They were collected. Secondly, because they had no economic value to his system other than collecting them, Doc became more prominent because he could not understand what he can do with the beads. Beads were beads. To him, beads were beads.
Value.
Beads were beads. So the transformation is real. The transformation Majog was experienced by being transformed by this experience of meeting the people is very real. Obedo manifested. Okay. Luos even made masks and sculptures. Where are they? Other than in the museums, where are they?
Okay. They would give villages and
Jogyo Lal, Georgia. Gibo museum about traditions. I don't know about how cows are not. If Gibo go into details, a deer, a cow, mantie kama, and moki cow, but so this Magio kick ma threaten the system itself. As long as the knowledge of threaten the system won't get a problem.
yeah. The Luo Girl ninka.
Olal kendo.
In mabor kendo. Ramothin ineno sa paro ni
Alright.
Raj. Apparently, the next part we can cover in the next section. The next Gimodong, we push it forward.
Time ni diga kuri.
Irego.
Gotieno. Jagambo repel.
Irego. Gibro wacho ni urego ga gotieno ujojuogi. Deluo ga. Jagam bro usi.
Jaga mubed mos.
Okay. You Ramoth asked you sama pok ochako explanation nopenji gimomiyo iwacho ni interesting. Miwacho interesting 3 times and you gave him 3 issues ma were interesting to you. Since he's been nitie gimo kamomulo ma you'd wish to say something about. Nikech aparo ni time ni koro kik wamede kendo walore gi ka mondo eka next time kendo jowagi oduog owinj kamodong'. Osechopo aparo ni Kenya en saa 6 gi dakika. Yeah. In gi anything?
Yeah, just one though. The valuation mar no awinjore maler koro.
But yeah,
Winjri
go
maber.
ahead.
The valuation mar dowry from how we transitioned from beads as to koro wadhi e dhok. And I think I get it now because other than one's ability to pay dowry, there is the aspect of it has a cultural significance, a sort of appreciation, not really valuation or a kind of trade or exchange, but then just appreciation and showing actually backing up manufacturing culture that you show appreciation and maybe you live with a good man, just maybe you live with a good woman. So once in a while you remember maybe when you are maybe nitiere gimoro ma she's adding to the home. So you decide once in a while vile moja kwa jidongi kone gidiere kata dhiang' moro. Mano is still nyombo. And since the forms of trade and items of value manitiyo godo chien kucho chonde are no longer so available. Ema koro kelo aspect mar dhok because money again is not so much accounted for when it comes to the exchange, this marriage rights. They want money, but they're not counting the money as part of the dowry. So apparently that's where mindset has changed because uh, from my background, you realize that when someone marries off their daughter and there are a lot of cows, unaambiwa uvumilie sana even when it is hard because it's like you are sold. Or the man keeps telling you, I paid a lot, just like Odo was saying, I paid a lot, but I didn't see the value. I don't see the value of what I paid. So it was to some people it's like some sort of exchange. I think that's where my mindset has changed. Now that was a turning point for me because what I thought it was is not really what it is. Just that for me.
Ng'eridhi. Luo galo dhi. Idhi.
I think
Anyuola okalo kode.
Oh, otieko. Oh, wacho ni otieko. Okay. Okay. Quite an interesting observation. And Ramoth, you see the goodness. I mean, for me, the high in all this is that if you talk to the Luo for example, you talk to Luo Girl and you talk to all our cultural champions who are listening here. I think for me the high is when I had an opinion around something and the explanation that brings it back to the Luo consciousness makes me rethink, makes me make an about turn in what I would I be. Oh, okay. Because I may, and they say I'm saying may to mean us in plural, that I may believe something that was passed down to me from a point of the fact that that person was not, he looked at me and realized, this one still is still immature. Even if I try to explain for him or for her the science behind why Luos do what they do. They won't understand it for now. So I believe what I'm told is what it is. You grow up knowing ni dok mang'eny no ber sana umeu. Gol ng'ane omeu nikech onyuolo nyiri mang'eny. Now look at what the Luo girl has said. Kanyo kang'e no pick, but I picked up something very interesting mocho. Ni konyuomi dhok mang'eny koro ivumilia. Who you are the one inemini this keny, inemi hinyri kenyni to inemi vumilia. Why? Jonyuol nomi dhok mang'eny. Very interesting. So you are not doing it for you. It's not about you. It's about dhok. Who got the dhok? Emomiyo Ramoth wach thumba cha mit kabisa ni dhok othuowa. Dogipare.
Mon kariek.
Mon kariek, mon kariek, mon kariek, mon kariek kendo dakika achiel ng'won-nauru nikech samoro nitie kaka juogi dwaroga, to juogi ka dware samoro to samoro inyalo tume kaka juogi samoro dwarono to mana dakika achiel. Ramoth kae tami walore nikech
Losie wach dhiang' owada. Wach dhiang' tek kata nikech onyuomi. Konyuomi tidaka daka kata ithagi. Wuoru nosechamo dang' itima. Dhiang' yema thuwa nya malela dhiang' othuwa. Ichalo dhiang' ithuwa nyaro dela gola dhiang' okoso na malito miyo chuo chayowa kama. Nyiri masani mok nyuomgi kojok to wuok kaka nobiro. To in to tweyi kech nonyuomi wuoru nochamo. Dhiang' yema thuwa nyaro keche taye dhiang' othuwa.
iwinje, the Luo girl iwinje.
Wuoru nochamo in kori sandori.
Bas. Ok amede moro.
Ouda ukete malich. Wuoru nochamo kuri sandri. Ukawo anecdote achiel. Koro ji te ma gine. Ma wuonegi nochamo. Koro gidhi sandre. Kwanza mawuoyo no jiwo wach. Ouda. Omede.
To in to tweyi kech nonyuomi wuoru nochamo.
George, kanye mawacho. Ojiwo wach. Nikech owacho ni the societal time ma in go. And preferable. Ibed ni onge these ties. But mano society moluar.
Exactly.
Tek. Kendo telo oyot nikech tinde wan gi another form. Tinde ok dhiang'. Tinde wan gi certificate. Wadhi yudo certificate. To watweyi go.
Yes. Certificate no koko kethe titu imoko kanyo nyaka chieng'. Ramoth, I can't thank you enough because you are opening our eyes in a way that it's not easy to do it. It's not easy to grasp these things. A number of times, and it's so many us in our millions, we take these things from the face value. There are a number of things that have come out very clearly. And I'm happy we're talking about the girl today. And I want to leave you. I want to let you finish it. I want to let you have your word of finishing it in your own way. But for me, I repeat what our mission is, so that we don't deal with confusion. Whoever came in between and stayed towards the end might not pick up. What are we talking? Are we discussing the book the way it is? Yes, we are reading the book. The Luo Girl is reading for us the book called The Luo Girl. But our mission, as we conclude today's discussion, is important. Remember that The Luo Girl was written in 1949 in English. Those were observations of a person. Opinion. They were his opinions after he observed something. An opinion may not be a fact. However loud an opinion is, it will never be a fact. Our mission is therefore not to dismiss or negatively challenge his work, nor is it to accept every observation uncritically. Rather, our task is to place those observations within their proper historical, cultural, and social context. And that is what Ramoth is helping us in doing. And at Ramogi Cultural Institute for Luo Heritage, Research and Education, we seek to understand that Luo Girl, the Luo family, the Luo society, we seek to understand the Luo Girl, the Luo family, and the Luo society through the lens of Luo consciousness itself. Because we believe that our people are best understood not only by what outsiders observe, but also by how they understand themselves. How they understand themselves, their values, their philosophy, and their lived experiences. We have this thing when we talk about Luanda Magere, we say a man who cannot lead himself can never lead anybody else. And so as we engage with this book, we are not attempting to water down Luo culture in the name of modernity. No. Quote and quote. We use that word modernity with a lot of caution. Because cultures do not survive merely because they are remembered. No. They survive because each generation takes the responsibility to understand them, interpret them correctly, and pass them forward with integrity. We are so blessed to have Ramoth because that is standing in that gap. He is taking the responsibility to help us understand them, to help us interpret them correctly, and then pass them forward with integrity. Perhaps in this, this is the spirit in which we continue our journey through the Luo Girl, not as judges of the past, but as custodians of the living Luo heritage. Ramoth, I can't thank you enough. Thank you for always heeding the call when I say, I want to host you, until it has become this automatic now. You, our people, you, our cultural champions. I have a lot of, I have nothing else but gratitude to thank you. Because right now it's very late. Amongst us here as Arsenal supporters, you live to, you tried, but unfortunately, you're not stars. There's no number 2 trophy for number 2. Mo kika begini. Erokamana inya amor kodu mosuru sana jo Arsenal. Adier from my heart, I'm sorry because really you tried. Yeah. But your trial was not the best. PSG. PSG had it. Ramoth Lorgini.
I want to go strictly. That is the only team that exists in the universe. Erokamano.
Sorry, Ramon. Other team of Makosa Martin. The Luo girl Onegogori. She
Yes.
commented, but
Yes.
she didn't say goodbye to these
Yes.
beautiful people she's reading the book to, and I know they appreciate you, Luo girl. We appreciate you. We really, we do. We do appreciate the work you are doing. You are bringing this book to life because you are a Luo girl. Thank you. We appreciate you. Goni jogi oriti.
Juogi omuonyo network kendo. Anyuola. Nyakigol sacrifice.
We are walking with you the long journey until we take you back to the village. Koro chake kendo.
It's a nice experience, a very nice one for me. I get to learn, especially from Ramoth. Ramoth is giving a whole lot of insights from his view to how it was, how it is, how it's supposed to be, how it's probably going to be in the future. I'm learning a lot. I like the engagement, and I really appreciate those who take their time. So I'll just say thank you, and you people have a nice weekend.
Thank you so much, the Luo girl. Thank you. Ramoth.
Erokamano telo. Adwa wacho mana erokamano kendo. Thank you for joining us for this session. Thank you for being here. It's pretty late, but you're here. Thank you. We don't take it for granted. Thank you to Ramogi Cultural Institute for this opportunity. Hopefully we have many, many more, and that we may represent for our generation, we may represent the culture in its most active, prosperous, and real sense. Erokamano. Have a nice, beautiful, relaxed evening, and we meet again in the coming week. Erokamano. Oda waduok nigo.
Thank you so much, GK. Thank you so much, the Luo girl. Thank you so much, so much, our cultural champions who are with us today. Until we meet again next week with another episode of the Luo girl. But we always, before Luo girl, of course, we have got Proverbs Day Monday. We have got Luo Tales. We have got Luanda Magere, but I know we might have be done with some of them, and we are moving into more very, very interesting episodes of other things. It's just starting. It's just the beginning. Tedre koreka nyuka koreka wache thedhie mana puoyo gilo wachocha thedhie kokamano ero kamano ya bed gotieno maber jogo man otieno joma godiechieng' ma pod tiyo beduru godiechieng' maber. The next to mogik ahinya mogik to donga gone erokamano ne jodongo gi, the council of elders who brought together this beautiful thing that is making us learn, Ramogi Cultural Institute for Luo Heritage Research and Education. Bergondi, med miyowa jingo kendo med sponsor more of this and more of this and more of this. Thank you. Ero uru kamano.
Kamata chini, kama kamatia chini, kamata chini, kamati